We're embarking on a project to restore one of Scotland's most special habitats, temperate rainforest. Here, oaks grow covered in masses of mosses and ferns. Hazel and birch are coated in rare lichens, and the mighty Scots pines can age and grow tall, creating the perfect conditions for native life beneath. But this magical habitat is threatened. Across Scotland, native forest cover is scarce, and native temperate rainforest is even rarer. This is due to a mix of factors which have long been degrading Scotland's natural systems. One of them being the widespread felling or shading out of native ancient woodlands and creation of non-native plantations. These alien tree species outcompete and suffocate the native flora. Densely packed in regimented rows, there's nothing natural about these plantations. This is why we're embarking on a project to remove these trees. Yes, you heard that right. Here at Mossy Earth, we really are cutting a forest, and by working with the local community, we'll allow the native and natural way of life to return to this patch of Scotland's temperate rainforest. Our project area is best accessed by boat, so one icy and very cold morning, we took a journey across Loch Arkaig. Isla's just busy falling off the boat. Yeah, oh yeah, that's it. Oh gosh.
For the old people.
Joining us for this video is Isla, our Mossy Earth biologist who is our lead on this project. Gus, the expert botanist who you might remember from our mountain birch project here in Scotland. Kulan, the forever puppy, and Liam and Angela of the Arkaig Community Forest, our partners on this project who we'll hear more from later in this video. Here in Arkaig we've got a few habitats. Here we've got a lovely little, I guess it's a wet woodland, transitional woodland which comes in off the loch. It's mainly older. There's quite a few natural habitats, but what I'm walking into now is one of the non-natives. On our project area there's larch, lodgepole and Sitka spruce, non-natives you'll find all across Scotland, which are typically planted in these regimented blocks. It was after the First World War and the creation of the Forestry Commission which saw the rapid increase of commercial plantations. This meant that the UK had a readily available stock of timber, but with every new plantation, Scotland's natural habitats were fading. Early on in our trip, we visited one such place which perfectly captured this contrast, this battle between native and non-native species. So as you can see, we're walking through one of the lovely non-native plantations, and I don't know whether if I'm saddened or kind of impressed by this tree, but that's awesome. Look at that.
The Skipinnish Oak.
Skipinnish Oak. I think this oak is one of the most impressive trees I've seen, not least because of its stature or the fact that it's the last standing relic of a destroyed habitat, but also because it still supports hundreds of species.
There's black-eyed Susan. If we look at another bit, especially if you look up here, we've got all the little fruit bodies which have little kind of black bits on them, so that's why it's called black-eyed Susan. And that's really typical of these kind of western oceanic woodlands. It grows on slightly more acidic bark. And then in amongst that we've got all sorts of oceanic bryophytes, mosses and liverworts like spiny featherwort and western earwort are two of the sort of typical ones, but there's a load of stuff on that tree.
I think I can see some Sitka growing in it.
Yeah, there's a few non-natives growing on it.
Oh, just up here.
Tree with trees.
Yeah, it's a tree growing trees. Yeah, it's got holly on it. Yeah, this is cool. This is a tree which should be standing tall above a thriving native ecosystem. Instead, it's nearly completely crowded out by Sitka spruce. And as we're walking up the burn back in our project area, it had a similar feeling. Small pockets of native life towered over by non-natives. And within this area, we have the ruins of an old settlement known as Ardnish, a former home to people who'd lived here at a time when the land might have been more natural. A way of life we're going to try and get back to.
Here's another pine that's succumbed to having these non-native conifers around it. It's a shame because Scots pine really likes light. It's quite light hungry, so when these are planted around it, they obviously grow up, they shoot up much faster than the pine can't compete. So it was just crowded out and died because of it.
This is the edge of our project area, right?
Yeah.
And Here they've been removing some of the conifers, and you can just see these pine trees which are just kind of breathing new life again, right?
It's magical.
But the thing with this is that right now it doesn't look great, does it?
No, it doesn't look good at the minute. But it's kind of, obviously this isn't an ideal situation. In an ideal world, these non-natives never would have been planted on this Caledonian pinewood site, but they have been. So yeah, it's a case of we're going to have to crack a few eggs to make an omelette.
I think this is really important to understand about our project and about Scotland in general. To the unsuspecting eye, it's very easy to see these plantations, especially from afar, and think, look at all these trees, ultimately mistaking them for something that's good, something that's natural, but in reality, the opposite is true. And what you're seeing here, this patch of non-natives that have been felled, although it might not look it, this is an improvement, a step in the right direction to achieving something like this. So where we've come to now, this is kind of special. This is a pretty intact and natural example of temperate rainforest that is full of pine trees, old pine trees. One thing I'm learning is that temperate rainforest here in Scotland looks a little bit different depending on the type of tree species that you have within it. We're very much in the temperate zone still, but here you've got these like massive old pines, and it just feels like completely different. And this is kind of a real nice example of what we're trying to achieve on our project area. And here, further down the hill in a patch of hazel, we found a very rare species. This is yellow specklebelly, a lichen which only grows in old growth temperate rainforest. It requires really moist conditions. And throughout our trip, we found many intriguing epiphytes, the names given to the magical plants, fungi and lichens that grow on other plants that seem to be everywhere. But one of my favourites was this. This is green satin lichen. To me, it looked completely alien, just wrapped around this birch tree. It's these plants which really categorise the look and feel of temperate rainforest. It's not a habitat which is defined by the types of tree species which grow within it. Instead, it's defined by the environmental and climatic conditions in which those trees are found. Unsurprisingly, temperate rainforests require high annual rainfall and pretty consistent average temperatures where it doesn't get too hot in the summer nor too cold in the winter. So when these conditions occur where there's trees and where there's woodlands, you get temperate rainforest, and it creates the perfect conditions for all of the epiphytes, all of the bryophytes and lichens, and seemingly everything is just covered in a wonderful mass of life. I mean, look at this wall, look at this tree. It really makes this habitat just feel really special and I think quite mythical. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see a couple of fairies in here. And it's this magic which is completely lost in the dense and lifeless non-native plantations. Removing these trees is going to be a considered and steady process. This is for a couple of reasons, the first being that we have wood ants throughout the non-natives.
Obviously we're going to have harvesters coming in here and taking these trees out, and wood ants like to live on the edges of woodland. So as we're coming along here, we'll just need to make sure that the workmen, they'll obviously be briefed and trying their best not to impact on any of the ants' nests, but they'll be supervised, so there'll be somebody on the ground making sure that we're not being as low impact as possible, basically.
Isla mentioned here that we'll have harvesters in to remove trees, and we will do for large parts of the area, but we'll also be using more traditional, slower and low impact methods to take the non-natives out. Simon and his logging horse Tarzan will be more suitable to these ecologically sensitive areas and the more inaccessible and wetter areas. Removing the trees using more traditional and slow methods will give the land more time to recover and respond to these changes. This is a rough map of the area, and here in yellow you can see the areas where we would like to remove the non-natives. But it would be good to get a more detailed map of the area, which is why we are resorting to mapping things with the drone. That is after waiting around for the Scottish mist to disperse. So the fog and the mist is cleared now, it's kind of all moved down into the glen, and this means that we can now begin to map this area with the drone. And this should be interesting. And that's because the drone will be flying autonomously, so it's going to kind of just follow a transect and it's going to go up and down the project area, so at least we'll be able to see it now. We've got the helipad. We're taking this kind of thing very seriously now. You're an experienced drone pilot, right, Isla?
Yes, incredibly experienced. Was that convincing?
It's upside down.
Oh, sugar, okay. Did you get that in
I
the
did,
your
yeah.
experience? You're putting the battery in upside down. I should probably do that.
Isla did eventually manage to get the mapping done, and this is the resulting ortho-photo mosaic. We've also posted this in your Mossy Earth account, where we post frequent project updates showing stories on the ground as they happen at the projects. For us, these high quality drone maps are important to show how the site changes over time. In addition to drone mapping, on the ground, woodland herbivore impact assessments have been undertaken at the site for a number of years, and they will be continued. The success of our rewilding projects depends on how well they interact with and are connected to the people living closest to them, which is why we are really excited that this project is being led by the community, specifically Arcade Community Forest, who are also part of the Northwoods Rewilding Network.
We're really excited to be working with Mossy Earth at Skipinnish. It's a really exciting project for us at Arcade Community Forest. We're removing the non-native timbers that were planted in the 1970s, and that will allow the native forest to regrow from its refuges.
Yeah, Skipinnish is important to Arcade Community Forest and the local community because it's significant in having the remains of an old settlement there. It shows us that there have been people in and working with the woods for centuries. So it's got a lovely atmospheric place. You can almost feel the people who have lived and worked there before. So it's special to us to be able to come in and take out these plantation trees, these non-native pines and spruces, and to take it back to start again for the other trees to come in, and we can start to see how these people would have lived.
We'd just like to say thank you to the supporters of Mossy Earth for their very generous contribution towards our project. It's really allowing us to restore the site, which we otherwise wouldn't be able to do without this support.
And if you're not yet a member but would like to support this kind of work, then please consider becoming a member at mossy.earth. The link is in the description and pinned in a comment down below. I mean, look at this pine tree just completely dead. Would have been surrounded by non-natives, but now they've been removed. You know, it's kind of like a symbol of what could have been, and you know, when you look across here, it does look kind of sorry for itself. You know, it looks like something of a war zone. You've got trees that look like they've been like hacked down, and you've got these trenches where it's been ploughed in the past. And you know, whoever thought it was a good idea to plant non-natives here in such high numbers, it's just crazy, you know. But you know, this landscape might look sorry for itself, but this is a landscape which is in recovery. And I think over the next 10, 20, 30 years, we'd be really surprised at how this landscape recovers. If this is a project which you want to support, then you can become a Mossy Earth member, where you'll be contributing to a whole host of different rewilding projects all over the world now. It's really exciting, and it's a really impactful way to contribute to nature coming back. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
A day in the life of the... Oh no!
That should be on film.
Nature in... Go on,
There you go.
Go on. Yeah.
Another filming mission in Scotland and another Rob tumble.
Are you alright?
Yeah, I'm fine, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's alright.